Hey, this is Tyson, and now we're going to be looking at how you can work with objects in JavaScript. So here you can see, I'm going to jump into this. This is a very basic JavaScript object. I just have an object is defined by wrapping something in these curly braces, and then you have an ID of 1, which is a number, and then a name, iron and wine, which is a string. And so I'm taking these and I'm actually logging out the artist.name, which this is just kind of just how you can access anything. Like if I wanted to log out the artist ID, I can do it the same way. And this can go down infinitely. So like if I wanted to make another object inside of this object, I could say something like colors and then favorite blue. So then I could access that down here by saying colors.favorite, and then I get the blue. So down here we have destructuring. This is kind of another way to access objects. So here we're accessing the artist name. This is basically the same as doing artist.name, but instead of that, you can do the curly braces and grab that out, and then this actually creates a const with the variable name of name, because that's what it's called right here, and it just kind of pulls it out of the object. So if we wanted to get some other things, you could actually do several things inside the same destructuring. So then I could say name ID. So then you see it's destructured iron and wine 1. And so that's kind of a lot of times a better way to get stuff out of your object if you wanted to get out several things and be able to access them all at once, instead of having to do like whatever dot something all over your code. So now we're going to look at how you can get the keys out of an object. So here we just do Object.keys, and that will give us all of the keys of the current object. So here we got the ID and the name, and so it's logging out ID and name. There's nothing very fancy there, but it's something you can use if you need to iterate over your object, so you can turn it into basically an array so that you can get stuff out of it, which can be useful sometimes. So last of all, we're going to look at how you can merge objects together. So here I've got this first object, iron and wine, and then here I'm using object assignment. So what you can do is do Object.assign, and notice that the first thing I pass into this function is a blank object. This is important because if I just passed in the artist as the first thing into this Object.assign, the artist would actually get overwritten, because this is not an immutable function. So artist would actually become whatever this Object.assign is creating. And so to keep your objects as like a new immutable object, you want to pass in a blank object first, and then the object you want to assign to, and then last of all you would pass in whatever things you wanted to possibly change. So here I'm passing in the name, so then you see that the postal service overwrites iron and wine because it's the new it's the thing on the farthest to the right. And so I could actually even add to this. So if I wanted to say name is something else like Tyson, that would actually be the one that overwrites. So whatever however many objects you want to pass in, but the one farthest to the right is actually the one that's going to take precedence over all the rest of them. Another way to do this, which I tend to veer towards, is the spread operator, which this is basically the same as Object.assign, except instead of it's just a less verbose way to do it. So what you do is you create a new object, and then you spread an old object over it by doing ... and then the object name. So here I'm doing ... artist, which of course, is a reference to this artist object right here, the iron and wine object. And then I'm just changing the ID here. So here it logs ID2 and then the name of iron and wine, which is basically the same as Object.assign, but it's a lot less verbose and typically easier to read. So I feel like that's a better approach in most cases. I mean, there are definitely cases where you would want to use Object.assign also. So that's basically objects. In the next video, we're going to be looking at classes and how you can use classes in JavaScript. So stay tuned.